Peace, family. I'm back with another one. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. To all my returners, as always, I thank y'all for helping me build this platform up, helping me get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. I did this one because I see a lot of talk in the so-called Black community about Kamala Harris and if she is or if she isn't one of us, that she's pretending to be one of us for the votes. I don't care about politicians, but if you ask me, I think we don't need no president. But anyway, I had to put this video together just to dig deeper into those who say she is or she isn't, And so after this video, then let me know, is she or is she not? And what is Black culture? But without holding y'all, we're going to jump straight into it. Peace and love, family.
On behalf of Akuno Call for Bay, you know what I'm saying? Jay, where you at? We're trying to help our people elevate. Hope. H-O-P-E. We're giving them hope. We doing what we gotta do, Every day, one step at a time, man. We gonna make it happen. Helping our people elevate. Yeah. Sometimes I practice focus, thought, and meditate. I'm trying to come with other ways to help our people elevate and seeking knowledge, make me levitate. The lifted mental state is what results from how we orchestrate. This for the family's sake. Let's self-reflect and self-evaluate. And every day, make sure the steps you take, you calculate. Receive a master's fate. I know I can't exist without the hate, but that's okay. I balance that with higher self today. Success is on this way, and after that, my flesh can pass away.
So we're going to jump into it. Like I said, a lot of people like to say Kamala Harris is not Black. She's not one of us. And so I wanted to analyze these statements that I got up onto the screen. And as you see the images, there are various famous people, Lena Horne, Terrence Howard, you see them, Shamar Moore, Neil Long. So again, I wanted to analyze these statements that I have on the screen, because when I hear people saying, oh, she's not one of us, she's just trying to get our votes, I think, like, are they referring to complexion or are they talking culture? Is it complexion or is it culture? So Kamala Harris, she's not one of us. Is that a fact or fiction? She's pretending to be Black. Is that a fact or a fiction? She want to be Black. Is that a fact or a fiction? Let's dig into it. Now, if you've been following my platform, if you're new, go check out my Fathers of the Modern Race Paradigm, where I deal with Francis Bonaire, Carlos Linnaeus, and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, the inventors of the concept of race. These are the fathers of the modern race paradigm. And this paradigm has been going on for over 300 years. What color is he? What color is she? Black, white. That's only used in the Americas. In North America and South America, they use these policies in Brazil as well. But everywhere else around the world, people deal with their nationality or their tribes, their ancestry, their lineage. They have culture. But Francis Bonaire wrote a book, the craniologist Francis Bonaire wrote a book called New Division of the Earth, translated in French, Nouvelle de la Terre, where he studied in India for 9 years. And like I said, this was in 1684. And so he created this caste system based on complexion, which in today's times is social engineering. An example of social engineering is you see the two images right next to Francis Bonaire. You see the dark-skinned people, and then you see the lighter-skinned Indians. Both of these people are from the same country, same place. But when you watch TV or television, as I call it, television programming, they only show you the lighter-skinned image. When you watch any commercial, they show you a Japanese person or Chinese person. They only show you the lighter-complected people, an Asian person. They only show you the lighter-complected people. They never show you the dark people that were there thousands of years before these other people got there. And so I want to analyze these images. And also I asked, did you know the original Buddha was a dark-skinned man? The first people who conceptualized and worshiped the divine image of the Negroid would be humanity, were the Negroes, and they actually started the practice of Buddhism. So Africans started Buddhism, not the Asians. If you want, you can pause the screen and I'll let you read it. But as it says on the bottom, the school system is here to create robots. It's not going to teach you the truth. And we're going to dive deeper. I mean, have you ever seen an Asian with locks in their hair? And when you do see pale-complected people, they do try to mimic and try to have the locks, their hair texture is not the same, because their hair is not meant to be locked up. Well, some may call it dreadlocks, but there's nothing dreadful about our hair. So I said locks. And if you look at the images, look at the nose, look at the nostrils, look at the lips on the images. These were the people of India known as the Dravidians. Why don't we see the Albion or any other pale-skinned people? Why doesn't their hair curl up like these hairs? Why doesn't their nose, they don't have these same features? Let's analyze the etymology of the word Indian, its adjective and its noun. Because a lot of people in the Americas like to say that they're Indian or they're Native American. Well, Indians come from Asia, just like an Australian will come from Australia. So when you deal with nationality, the nationality of the people of India is Indian, or whatever tribe, whatever tribe or nation they belong to. Let me say it that way. But you have Japanese people come from Japan, Chinese people come from China, and so the Indian has to come from India. And so this word is from the late Latin Indianus, from India, applied to the Aboriginal native inhabitants of the Americas from at least 1553 as a noun, 1610 as an adjective, reflecting the Spanish and Portuguese use, Columbus, on the mistaken notion that America was the eastern end of Asia. So when Columbus so-called discovered the Americas, which we know there were already people here, I answered we were already here, but when he so-called discovered America, he thought he was in the eastern end of Asia. And so, as you'll see further in the presentation, the people of Asia, the original people, have dark pigmentation, dark melanated skin. And due to the social engineering of Francis Bernier, Carlos Linnaeus, Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, Alex Hrdlicka, Walter Plecker, Melville Herskovitz, and various other European so-called scholars, this social engineering has been passed down from generation to generation all the way down to today, where you have adults who think that they are crayon colors. You have adults in America who do not know their nationality or what a nationality is. The old English adjective was indisk and indish. Go to the next paragraph where it says the Red Indian to distinguish the Native Americans from inhabitants of India. So they had to separate the two. It was first attested in 1831 in British England, or in British English, but was not commonly used in North America. And so again, these people weren't commonly called Indians in North America. But the people claiming to be that today, they're not going to tell you this information. And this isn't something that I wrote or something I made up. It's in the etymology dictionary. Go do your own research. If you disagree with what I present, go do your own research and come back with the information to prove me wrong. Now let's dig into Kamala Harris's parents and their diverse cultural backgrounds. Her mother, Shamala Harris, was an Indian descent, meaning she's from India, like I just explained. She was born in Chennai, India, and belonged to a Tamil Brahmin family. She was a cancer researcher and a civil rights activist who immigrated to the United States for her graduate studies. Her father, Donald Harris, is of Jamaican descent. He is an economist who also immigrated to the United States for his education. So Camilla has Indian and Jamaican ancestry. Now, let's analyze, like I said, these various shades of melanin. And it goes from, as Pac said, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, the darker the flesh, the deeper the roots. So you must know who you are. Who are we? We are not Black, Negro, colored, African American people. But that's a whole other subject. We'll get into that and more. You can go to some old presentations and you'll see that. But I'll make a video just for that to present that. But we're going to talk about the skin color and melanin content. And again, color is a social cast made up system by Francis Bernier, but this is the information I had to pull up. So I'm gonna give y'all what was presented. India, the Indian subcontinent has a wide range of skin tones due to its diverse population, influenced by geographic, climatic, and genetic factors. Melanin contents vary widely. Melanin contents varies widely, with darker skin tones more prevalent in southern regions and among Dravidian populations, while lighter skin tones are more common in northern regions, particularly among populations of Indo-Aryan descent. So the people in the northern region are the ones who were mixed breeds, who were the watered down version of the original people. respectfully. Don't get all in your feelings, leave your feelings on the sideline. But the so-called African American. African Americans typically have higher melanin content due to their African ancestry, which originated in tropical climates, where darker skin provided a survival advantage. The variation in skin tone among African Americans can also be attributed to admixture with European and Native American populations. So again, the mixture comes with a lighter complexion, but it's still the darker the flesh, the deeper your roots. Let's talk about the hair texture and types. Hair texture in India varies significantly, ranging from straight to wavy and sometimes curly, especially among Dravidian populations in the South. The diversity in hair textures reflect the complex genetic makeup of the Indian populations, which has absorbed influences from many different peoples over millennia. African American. African American hair is often characterized by its coiled, curly, and kinky texture. This type of hair is adapted to hot climate, providing protection from the sun and retaining moisture. The hair texture among African Americans can also show diversity due to genetic admixture. So that's twice. It just said this, with the melanin in our hair is protected and gives us life from the sun. Keep going into it. Facial features. India. Indian facial features vary greatly across the country. In the northern and western region, people often have sharper, more angular features, while in the south and east, broader, softer facial features are more common. These differences are partially due to the historical migration and genetic mixing of various groups, including Indo-Aryans, Dravidians, and Austroasiatic tribes. The African American. African American facial features are similarly diverse, but common traits include broader noses, fuller lips, and higher cheekbones. These features are linked to African American ancestry, but can vary significantly due to the intermarriage and genetic mixing with other ethnic groups over time. So remember that, because where it said these traits include broader nose, fuller lips, and higher cheekbones. We're going to examine some statues here soon, and I want y'all to look at this and you're going to see. Africans in India, from slaves to reformers and rulers, by Vikas Pandey. So this isn't something I put together. This is an article that I went and researched. I didn't put the entire article in here. I just put certain parts in here. India and Africa have shared history in trade, music, religion, arts, and agriculture. But the historical link between these two diverse regions is rarely discussed. Many Africans traveled to India as slaves and traders, but eventually settled down here to play an important role in India's history of kingdoms, conquests, and wars. Some of them, like Malik Ambar in Western India, went on to become an important ruler and military strategist. Amber was known for taking on the powerful Mughal ruler of northern India. An exhibition organized by the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture of the New York Public Library in Delhi recently showcased such forgotten stories of Africa's role in India's history. African men were employed in very specialized jobs as soldiers, palace guards, or bodyguards. They were able to rise through the ranks, becoming generals, admirals, and administrators, she says. And so as you see in the image, you see the bodyguards, the soldiers, and the administrative. You see the positions. You see the brothers in the positions. You see them in front line. You see them around the guy on the elephant, the emperor, the king, or whoever he may have been. Early evidence suggests that Africans came to India as early as the 4th century, but they really flourished as traders, artists, rulers, architects, and reformers between the 14th and 17th century. This 17th century cloth painting depicts a procession of declining Sultan Abdullah Shah. African guards are seen here as part of the Sultan's army. Apart from the Deccan Sultanates in southern India, Africans also rose to prominence in the western coast of India. Some of them brought their traditional music and Sufi Islam with them. And so they brought Islam, music, culture, military structure, a way of life. Deccan sultans relied on African soldiers because Mughal rulers of northern India did not allow them to recruit men from Afghanistan and other Central Asian countries. And so this is Malik Ambar, the Ethiopian slave who became a Deccan kingmaker. Malik Ambar was a former Ethiopian slave who became a powerful military leader and statesman in the Deccan region of India in the late 16th and early 17th centuries. Serving as a regent for the Nizam Shami dynasty of the Ahmednagar Was a master of guerrilla warfare and successfully resisted Mughal expansion into the region. Malik Ambar also implemented an efficient revenue system and founded the city of Kadi, later known as Aurangabad. Despite his origin, he rose to become one of the most influential figures in Indian history. Despite his status as a former slave, Malik Ambar became a powerful figure in the Deccan, respected for his military acumen, administrative skills, and statesmanship. He died in 1626, leaving behind a legacy as one of the most remarkable figures in Indian history. This 1887 painting from Kutch portrays the Sidi Damal, a religious ecstatic dance form of the Muslim Sidi who were brought to India from East Africa. The funerary complex shown in the photograph was also designed by Unich Malik Sendel after 1597 in Bajupar in present-day southern Karnataka state. I can't pronounce those words, so y'all forgive me for that. But analyze the information that I'm presenting, and you can see by the top of this building that that's Islamic, that's Muslim. Anything that the Muslims or the Moors built had that same mosque type shape to the top of it. But again, this is Islam being brought into India. This painting from 1590 shows an Indian prince eating in the land of Ethiopians or East Africans. And so you see the image of the quote-unquote Africans, but like I say, these were Moors. If you study the Moors and you study Islam, you'll see the connection. They just reclassified them Black, Negro, colored, African American, etc. But again, a lot of people say, "Oh, Kamala's not one of us." But okay, let's keep digging into it. Africans also brought their music to India. This artwork dated from 1640 to 1660 shows a player of the African lyre. And so you see, like I said, they brought music, culture, a way of life. Again, our critique, we civilized the entire planet, but that's not taught in the school systems. And when I say we, I mean people of dark complexion, so-called Blacks, Negro, colored, African American. Those people in their region built where they are, just like the dark-skinned indigenous people here built what was here before it was all destroyed, or some of it's hidden. This painting shows Nawab Sadi Haider Khan of Shashin. The African ruled state of Shashin was established in 1791 in Gujarat. It had its own cavalry and a state band that included Africans, its own coat of arms, currency, and stamped paper. In 1948, when the princely states were incorporated into independent India and ceased to exist, Shashin had a population of 26,000. 85% Hindu and 13% Muslim, explained Dr. Doof. These are more people. These were the people of the city people. When I say city, Siddis, cities people in India. But you would think that they were African, or you can see the melanin, you would think that you see that they have so-called Black in them. Africans have been present in India for millions of years, with archaeological evidence suggesting migration from Africa as early as long ago. Some say that the first major African presence in Asia began over 500,000 years ago, and a second wave occurred 50,000 years ago. Africans have settled in many countries in Asia, including India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, and have formed communities known as Afro-Asians. Some examples of these communities include the cities in India and Pakistan, who have been there for over 1,000 years, and the Kafirs in Sri Lanka. But just to go into when they call them, like I say, Afro-Asians, those people didn't call themselves that. This is another form, like I'm saying, social engineering, the caste systems, where they're putting these people in labels, separate them from what's theirs. So again, and this is taught here, this is taught in other places as well, but it goes on the most here in North America, the so-called United States. Africans have played many roles in Asia, including cultural influences on Asian societies. For example, some argue that Africans brought cultural values with them, and that South Asians and Arab expansions brought Africans into contact with these populations, leading to cultural exchanges under the umbrella of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam. Others say that the Africans reached their great heights in Asia even within a single generation. One generation reached their great heights, but the Africans or the Moors, the so-called Black, Negro, colored people, they brought Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam into Asia. They brought culture. They brought language. So of course they brought food. If these were the first ancient original people, then they would have had to have their own food. Let's dig more. This book here is from Shinan D. Silva. I can't pronounce his last name, is Jean-Pierre Aguinot, but it's uncovering the history of Africans in Asia. So again, this ain't something I made up. This is, you can go find this book yourself. And it says the presence of Africans in Asia have been overshadowed by the tragedy of the Atlantic slavery. Identifying Africans in Asia therefore challenges contemporary scholarship. Within this context, the process of assimilation and marginalization hinder identification of African migrants. This book demonstrates the multiplicities of roles performed by Africans and the heights that a few of them reached, even in a single generation, drawing on a variety of sources, both oral and documented. This book reveals the extent of the African presence in Asia. So again, this is not my book, but this is something you can go look into. Now, this is a source from the Harvard Medical School. So I'm giving you multiple sources of where I'm getting this information from. Archaeologists, anthropologists, and linguistics have been locked in a century-long debate about how much people from the outside of Africa contributed to Swahili culture and ancestry. Swahili communities have their own history and evidence points in multiple directions. And so again, yeah, like I said, that was from the Harvard Medical School. But we're gonna go into the mixing between Asian Africans or Asian Africa. And so a lot of y'all will say, oh, those are black girls. But no, they're Asian and African, or so-called Asian African. That's their modern label for them today. I would say these were Moorish sisters. Yeah, they got the same hair like sisters over here do, same wide nose, same smile, same. These are beautiful women, just like we have here. But they're not black. They're not Negro colored African American. They don't go under those labels. So again, the mixing between Asia and Africa. The study revealed that around 1000 CE, a stream of migrants from Southeast Asia intermingled with African people at multiple locations among the Swahili coast, contributing close to half of the ancestry of the analyzed ancient individuals. The study confirmed that the bedrock of Swahili culture remained unchanged even as the newcomers arrived and Islam became the dominant regional religion, said Kusimba. The primary language, tomb, agriculture, cuisine, material culture, and matriarchal marriage, residential and matriarchal kinship remained African and Bantu in nature. After about 1500 CE, ancestry sources became increasingly Arabian. In later centuries, intermingling with others, populations from Asia to Africa further changed the genetic makeup of Swahili coast communities. And so the reason I had this image up here is when I said Arabian, I had to pull up the Berber, the Moorish brother, that's Arabic. You've seen dark-skinned Arabs before, so I don't want to hear y'all saying I'm trying to just make up or I'm lying. I've seen dark-skinned Arabs just as dark as me or darker, so I don't want to hear that. Understand that North America, Central America, South America, and the adjoining islands are not Hindustan, which is India. India is located just below China on the continent of Asia. So Aboriginal, indigenous, or Earth autochthonous people are not Indians because Indians come from Hindustan or India, which is below China on the continent of Asia. Here we have Sindhu, Hindu, Indus, India to Indian. These were the various translations of the word Indian. Sindhu, Hindu, Indus, India, Indian. And these are different faces of ancient Buddha in different arts across Asia. And so you see the different faces in the different arts of the different Buddhas. Faces of ancient Buddha in different arts across Asia. But the reason I had these statues up right here is because I want you to look at the nose. Again, look at the hair. Look at the eyes. You see the African presence or the indigenous Moorish presence in Asia. This also is another book source. Again, don't take my word for it. Go look these books up by Omar H. Ali. Islam in the Indian Ocean world. And so, again, don't take my word for it. Look it up yourself. You see in the painting, the dark melanated brother standing on top of whatever this is here. And you see the pale and tan skins below him. India and Pakistan was one nation. India and Pakistan were once part of the same country under British colonial rule. Before gaining independence in 1947, the region was known as British India. The division of British India into two separate nations, India and Pakistan, was primarily based on the religion lines that with India having a majority Hindu population and Pakistan being created as a separate state for Muslims. The partition was a complex and tragic event that led to significant violence, mass migrations, and deep-seated animosities that have influenced the relationship between the two countries ever since. Today, India and Pakistan are separate sovereign nations with distinct identities and political systems. The history of India and Pakistan is deeply intertwined with shared cultures, religion, and political roots that go back thousands of years. Their paths diverged dramatically in the 20th century, leading to the creation of two separate nations. Here's a deeper look at their history, how they were united, and how they ultimately split. So when you deal with the ancient civilization, the Indus Valley Civilization, 3300 BC to 1300 BCE, was one of the world's earliest urban cultures with major sites like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, located in what is now Pakistan. Over the millennium, the region saw the rise and fall of various empires, including the Maurya, Gupta, and Mughal empires. These empires controlled vast areas that included much of what is now known as India and Pakistan. When I look at the Maurya, I thought of the Moors, M-A-U-R, Mar, religious and cultural development. The region was a melting pot of religious ideas. Hinduism, Buddhism, and later Islam spread throughout the subcontinent. Sufi Islam, in particular, became deeply rooted in what is now Pakistan. Cultural exchanges were abundant with shared languages like Sanskrit, Persian, and later Urdu, agriculture style, and literary traditions. Islamic Empire and Mughal rule. I keep saying Mughal, but I know it's Mughal. I just say Mughal, so don't get in the message trying to correct me. The Delhi Sultanate of 13th and 16th centuries and the Mughal Empire, 16th and 18th centuries, were significant periods of Islamic rule in the subcontinent, with rulers who governed a religiously diverse population. The Mughal River in particular is noted for its agricultural achievements, cultural syntheses, and administrative efficiency, which influenced the entire region. British colonialism from 1757 to 1947. The British East Indian Company gradually took control of large parts of India in the 18th and 19th centuries. By the mid-19th century, after the Indian Rebellion of 1857, the British Crown formally took over, establishing the British Raj. Under British rule, modern infrastructures, legal systems, and education were developed, but at the cost of exploiting local resources and suppressing local industries. The rise of nationalism. In the late 19th and early 20th century, Indian nationalism began to rise, with the Indian National Congress, founded in 1855, leading the charge for self-rule. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru advocated for a united, independent India. However, there were growing concerns among the Muslim minority about their futures in Hindu-majority India. This led to the formation of the All India Muslim League in 1906, which began to push for separate Muslim representation and, eventually, a separate nation. Demand for partitions. The ideal of separate Muslim states gained traction in the 1930s, particularly under the leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. By the 1940s, the demand for Pakistan, a proposed homeland for Muslims, became central to the Muslim League platform. The British, facing increasing pressures from decolonized after World War II, decided to expedite their exit from India. The growing religious tension, communal violence, and political deadlock led to the decision to partition British India. The creation of two nations. On October 14th to 15th, 1947, British India was divided into two independent dominions, India and Pakistan. Pakistan was created as a separate nation for Muslims, with West Pakistan, modern-day Pakistan, and East Pakistan, modern-day Bangladesh. The partition led to one of the largest mass migrations in human history, with an estimated 10 to 15 million people crossing borders to join their chosen nation. This migration was accompanied by horrific communal violence, leading to the death of estimated 1 to 2 million people. Both nations faced significant challenges. India inherited most of British Indian assets, while Pakistan had to build its government and infrastructure almost from scratch. The partition also left unresolved issues such as the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, which became a major flashpoint between the two countries. The two nations soon went to war over Kashmir in 1947 and 1948, setting the stage for decades of conflict. India and Pakistan have fought three major wars: 1947, 48, 1965, and 1971. and several smaller conflicts, mostly over the Kashmir region. The 1971 war led to the secession of the East Pakistan and the creation of Bangladesh, further altering the political landscape of South Asia. Both India and Pakistan developed nuclear weapons, conducting tests in 1974 and in 1998. This has added a layer of tension to their relationship, as both nations are now nuclear-armed rivals. Relations between India and Pakistan have remained fraught, with periodic escalations in violence, especially in the Kashmir region. Despite some efforts to dialogue and peace, deep-seated mistrust and differing national narratives continue to fuel conflict. Despite the political divide, India and Pakistan share deep cultural, linguistics, and family ties. Many families were split by the partition, and both nations have a shared heritage in terms of language, cuisine, music, and cinema. These cultural connections have persisted even amidst political tensions. The story of India and Pakistan is one of shared history, tragic division, and ongoing conflict. Their paths diverged sharply in 1947 due to a combination of political, religious, and colonial factors, leading to the creation of two nations with distinct identities but intertwined destinies. The legacy of partition continued to shape the relationship between India and Pakistan to this day. And so, with that being said, family, as I said, you see the connections, you see the conflict. This is all social engineering. This is all through conquest and colonization and propaganda. And so they say Kamala's not one of us. But I just gave you the history and the connection of Islam and the African presence in ancient Asia. And I just showed you that even the Indians in Asia look like us. So with that being said, hit that like button. Make sure you leave a comment if you like what you heard. If you knew something or you didn't know, like I said, leave a comment. And I'll catch y'all on the next one, family. Peace and love.